began. And like you said, just because it ends, on a physical level, it doesn't necessarily, the journey of that and the trauma of that does not end. So take us through what that trauma did growing up, and how, as we discussed earlier, your perception of God, of the church, sort of impacted the way you perhaps chose to live out life post the abuse.
Okay, so somewhere at around the age of maybe 8, I recognized that my mother was telling me that I was pretty organized in the way that I did things. And she would say, "Oh, I just went to the store and I came back and you cleaned the windows." Or she would step away and go somewhere and she would come back and I would have accomplished some other task. And so very early in my childhood, I have memories of just being always busy. I later recognized that I was always busy because that was a way of hiding.
Mm.
And so to stop the voice that was in my head, because my perpetrator's voice was always there, him telling me to be silent, not to say anything. That was this recorder that was in my head wherever I went. And when I was working, I was able to silence the voice. And so during my university experience, I passed out once. And then while working, I passed out twice. And that was because I didn't have a sense of when I was tired, when I was weary. And so an example of that would be my last year of college, I had to do a practicum, social work practicum. Well, my practicum ended before the Christmas break, but I never told anyone. And so by the time I picked up my second practicum the following January, I was actually doing 2 practicums, along with carrying, my college load and working on campus. The truth of the matter, I was enjoying the first practicum. And that's when I experienced my first passing out from just sheer exhaustion. But no one was around to probably pinpoint or knew what I was doing to have been able to redirect my behavior. And my behavior continued. I wanted to be the best social worker on the planet. So what better to do than to knock on as many doors as possible and volunteer my time in all the various settings, whether it was working with children, working with in probation, and people were happy to get free work. They were happy to have someone come in and do their filing. But for me, it was my opportunity to learn about different papers, different assessments. And so it was a win-win. But it was a drug that was addicted. And like heroin addict, there's no plateau. And so my workaholic behavior was putting me on quicksand and I had no clue.